Hello everyone and welcome back to the Birding Today podcast. I'm your host Thomas. Unfortunately this week I didn't have time to put together an episode, a traditional episode with a guest. Just didn't work out. So I thought I'd do something a little bit different, maybe something a little bit more laid back, so to speak. I've got a beer here, just come home from work, so I thought I'd maybe hang out with all of you, all of my dear listeners, and maybe do a little bit of a mailbag episode, because I've found that it might be a better way to do these shoutouts. You know, every season maybe have a mailbag episode. Let me know what you think, if that's a good idea or not. But I think it could work. So, cheers. So, first things first, the recent competition that I did with Craig Bowes from Wild Portraits Australia. It was pretty good. It was quite a success. Quite a few entries, 7 entries in total, which was quite nice. And so congratulations again to Bronwyn Woodward and Aaron David for winning that. You should be getting the prints in the mail soon. Let me know when you get them, and please do send a photograph of you with the print, and I can put that on the Facebook page, and Craig can put it on his as well if he wants. That would be quite cool. We got some other good entries, and I'm going to shout out a couple of them. Actually got an entry from Kimberly Mutu in California, actually. And so she says, I have been listening for just a month. I recently found your show. I am an avid birder in California, volunteering for the national parks at Alcatraz as a waterbird docent at Filoli Historic House and Gardens, and member of Hawkwatch with GGRO in the Marine Headlands north of San Francisco. My daughter lives in New Zealand, so I like shows about birds in Anzac. Yes, well, that's very much a theme of the show, Kimberly, for sure. I quite like, as you all know, I'm fascinated by New Zealand, and I love the Lord of the Rings, so that's probably why. She says, my favourite episode was last week with the birder who did a big year in New Zealand, Harry Borman. I hope to meet him when I go there next. So Harry, if you're listening, a listener might pop up to your door and show up, and you can show Kimberly around. So that was nice. Thank you, Kim, for entering the show and participating and writing in. Always really nice to hear from birders overseas and listeners overseas. Another one was from Elke Link, who also wrote in, and she actually had a few good points in her email. And so she says, "Hi Thomas," or Guillaume, which the diehard fans of the show will know. My first name is Guillaume. And my second name is Thomas. So she says, I was just thinking about which episode I liked best when I saw you released one with Michael Gooch. That'll rate as a favourite for sure. He's a great guy and would have been fun to chat with. He and Louise have a great property there in the Mallee and are such genuinely nice people. And so, yeah, that was a great episode. Really great chat with Michael. Definitely go back and listen to that if you haven't yet. And so she says, so now a favourite, very difficult. If I must, it would have to be the episode with Michael Greenshields, simply because I've listened to his podcast as well, and it was most interesting hearing both of you talking about why you wanted to start a podcast, your experience of doing it, the issues you encountered, and how you are dealing with them. And of course, the joy you're getting out of creating your podcast. Yeah, it's definitely, a lot of background work goes into this, and time, and effort, and resources. I've got there's a monthly fee that I have to pay to distribute the podcast. It's not a lot, but if you do want to support the show, there is a Patreon. You can chip in if you want. That would be cool. Link in the show notes. Elke goes on to say, overall, I do like your focus on the joy of birding. I like when you at times include some personal experience in your chats, which is why I also enjoyed your Ask the Host episode. It was interesting to learn a bit about your background. Well, thank you, Elke. That's nice. I am planning on doing an Ask the Host episode again soon, hopefully. So if you do have any questions for me, please do write in, and I'll assign all the questions for an Ask the Host number 2 episode, which will be nice and interesting. So And Elke goes on and concludes her email. She says, if I was to exclude these 2 episodes, as they kind of break the mold a bit, I'm really hard pressed to find a true favourite. Everybody is interesting in their own way and has a different story to tell, which you managed to draw out very well with good questions and obviously a fair amount of research going into it. So many of them stand out for me. The one with Grace Lewis, because I find it inspiring how she kept going with her big year right through COVID. Definitely true. The one with Ed Williams, because Bird the Feck at Home was and still is such a fabulous idea. Janine Duffy, who started Women Birders and her great enthusiasm. Karen Dick, because I want to go birding in Tassie and maybe one day work up the courage to go on an Eagle Hawk pelagic. And so many more. There's something new to learn and discover in every episode. For me as a fairly late starter as well as for experienced birders. So thank you, Elke. That's really nice. Really, really nice to hear from you. And thanks for writing in. Let me see if there were any others. I believe there were. I also got an email from Bethany McLeod for the competition, which is good. She says, "Hi Thomas, I'm writing to you in regards to the competition in collaboration with Craig." So her favourite was when I spoke with Kim Farley, season 3, episode 3. She says, Bethany says, it was interesting to hear about eBird from her perspective as a reviewer and someone who assists new users with the site. As someone who has been a birder for quite a long time, it was also interesting to hear about her favourite bird, the buff-breasted paradise kingfisher, which is also a favourite of mine and hope to see myself. And Beth also says, and although not the podcast, I enjoy the shorts taken of various species you encounter, the short videos that I post on the website, on YouTube, notably the black falcon. It's one I'm yet to tick off my list. I'm in Victoria, and get a kick out of seeing local and foreign species alike. Yeah, definitely. I remember that black falcon. It was just close to Doerig, in not far from the small town of Mitiamo, I think. And that's I'll put the link to that video in the show notes. Actually, that was a great moment. I'm proud to have got that footage of the black falcon. So thanks for writing in, Beth. Really nice to hear from you. Thank you. Another entry from the competition was from John Cuistra. I believe that's how it's pronounced. Sorry if it isn't. But John has written in from Kurilpa, Queensland, and says, my favourite episode of the show is Season 2, Episode 7, with your interview with R. Bruce Richardson. I purchased his book when it was published. It was a thoroughly enjoyable read, and after hearing him speak, it gave me more of an insight into his personality and birding adventures. He is a real character. It also brought back memories of my own adventures travelling our beautiful land and birding, albeit at a slower pace. Definitely, John, that was really, really great. And I hope to have Bruce back on for his new book, I think it's called More Australian Birding Tales. And I think it's around about this time it's coming out, I think. So hopefully we can get the great R. Bruce Richardson back on the show. Here's to you, Bruce. Let me see if there's any more mail. I believe there was one more. I'll shout out Aaron David, one of the winners. And so this is what he wrote in. He says, "Hi Thomas, I've listened to all of your podcasts and subscribed from day one. Keep doing what you're doing. It's great for the birding community in Australia. Motivates us all to get out birding more and keeps us all in touch with what's happening in birding." Which is great and very encouraging to hear. So thanks, Aaron, for that. He says, I have probably found Season 2, Episode 10 with Liam Murphy. A great guy and knowledgeable birder, made it an easy one to listen to. And with the discoveries Liam made and passion to do more of a pioneer-style birding, resonated with the way I bird and enjoyment I get from it. Thanks for the podcast and happy birding. Yeah, that was a great chat with Liam. Yeah, I remember I went on a pelagic off the coast of Southwest Rocks, which is very underbirded in pelagic terms. But Liam is doing a great job down there and putting together I think semi-regular pelagic departures from there, and that was really, really great. I got the Tahiti petrel from that outing. That was really cool. So thanks for writing in, Aaron. Keep listening. And you might win again if you're lucky at the next competition. And of course, very big friend of the show, Bronwyn Woodward, And so one of the winners for the competition again. So Bronwyn says, "Hi Thomas, it's great that you're podcasting again. I really missed your weekly podcast while you weren't doing them. I listened again to several of your podcasts while you were in hiatus." Yeah, thanks Bronwyn. It's definitely a challenge to come up with weekly episodes and edit them. What takes most of the time is the post-production. And also a little bit before, to organise with guests, scheduling, and because I have a full-time job at the moment, so it's a bit tricky sometimes to get the time. And of course, sometimes I'd rather be outside birding, but I selflessly come in and slave away at the computer for all of you. So, it's really nice. So thank you for writing in. I've enjoyed all your podcasts, some more than others. But by far the one I've enjoyed most was the bonus podcast from June 10th of this year, Ask the Host with Jeremy Ringma. As you know from a previous email, I'd inquired about learning more about you, and that podcast certainly allowed your listeners to get to know you. It was very enjoyable and enlightening. Well, that's great, and Jeremy did a great job hosting, so thanks, Jeremy. If you're listening, that was really good. We'll have to do that again. And this sort of episode, this is a brand new thing that I'm doing almost off the cuff. I thought about it today at work, said I could do a mailbag episode instead because I haven't got a traditional episode and hang out with my listeners. And so that was really good. So Bronwyn concludes, she said, "Looking forward to more of your podcasts." So that's really nice. Thanks, Bronwyn, as always, for your support. Really, really nice. Bronwyn's actually a patron, which is it really does help in sort of my motivation and getting the show ticking over. So that's great. Oh, yes. So, and there's also Glenn Boyd. So thanks for writing in, Glenn. Glenn says, "My favourite episode so far has been with your interview with Janine Duffy. There have been more entertaining interviews, but this has been the most thought-provoking chat you have done." That's good. Good feedback. I'm glad you enjoyed that one, Glenn. "I must say, I really look forward to each new episode, and I'm never disappointed. Just refrain from interviewing any more birding podcast hosts, as Michael hasn't done a new episode since you had him on." Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah, I'll have to ask Michael if he's got plans to get back on the podcast train. But I definitely understand it takes so much time, and Michael does really great work tour guiding and posts great photos on Facebook of his trips, which I really love. So that's probably where his time's at the moment. But it was great to chat with Michael, actually. And it'd be good to have him on again. All the best, Michael, if you're listening. And I think that rounds up most of the competition entries. So that's good. If I've forgotten someone, please forgive me, and please do write in. I've missed your email, but I believe that's it. So tell me what you think about this mailbag episode, where I'm a bit more relaxed and I'm a bit more laid back. It's nice to have a direct chat to listeners. Like, I imagine you all sitting in front of me and nodding and encouraging me on. So that's nice. And something I also wanted to say, actually, to you all. My new favorite bird is actually the Teresian imperial pigeon. That's such a great bird. Such a great bird. Cheers to the Teresian imperial pigeon. There's just so many of them around at the moment in cairns. They've come back, and it's such a pleasure. Just, they're so big and black and white and so visible. Which, if any of you have seen them before, you'll know what I'm on about. And their booming voices in the morning. It's really, really nice. Just trying to think what else I could say here. That's about it. So if you enjoyed this, let me know, or if you think it's not my style, you can let me know as well. Feedback is good. And if you've got any questions for me, please write them in, and I'll put them aside for the next Ask the Host episode. They can be as personal as you want. Ask me anything, really. I'm just thrilled that anyone's listening to this at all. So when I first started, I didn't know it would, explode, as it has. I'm wondering if I could share some stats with you, actually, as well, which I've been thinking about doing. So something that's astounded me is this current stat, which is the most listened to episode. So I was thinking of doing a sort of... I initially thought about doing the competition about you all guessing what the most listened to episode is, but I thought that that'd be a bit difficult and complicated. So what blows my mind is that currently the most listened to episode is still the very first one I did with Stuart Monkton, Neither a Magpie nor a Lark. So that's still at the top, which is great. It's like, and it just shows that people like to supposedly go to the beginning and work their way through the episodes, which is good. And the one after that, only 4 listens below that, is the one I did with Jan Lyle, season 3, episode 8, photographing birds and far north Queensland birding, which was a great chat. And I should get out more around here in Cairns, and get to know the local Cairns birders, which I haven't really done. I haven't had too much time, and I've just been down in Melbourne. But apart from that, I think it's time to say goodbye for this week. I will have another episode next week, an international guest and a friend of mine, and that's going to be really good. So thanks everyone for listening in and tuning in for this kind of special episode, and enjoy the birds, and I'll see you next week. Always love hearing from you, so do write in. birdingtoday@gmail.com is where you can reach me. Give me some questions for the next Ask the Host. Anything at all, anything you want to know, and I'll take it into consideration, and I will respond. So thank you. Happy birding, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.